Well, I was doing some research on the 1935 Ford fire truck, and I came across something that's really super unique, really cool, and it kind of goes along with the theme of the 1935 fire truck. So I'll show you what I've been up to. Well, it's raining pretty good, and we have a very special delivery that's coming this evening. So when it arrives here, I'll show you what we have going on. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I covered it all up. Tomorrow it's supposed to be raining too, so we'll probably just leave it covered up for a while. Okay, so this is a Ford Marmon Herrington fire truck, 1935. This was the first year that Ford Marmon Herrington made all-wheel drive conversions. It's a very unique truck. It's got the insignia there. I did a little experimental, and I found it was an originally a red truck, you know, like a fire truck would be. Not sure exactly about this bed, but it's the way it came. I think it might have been altered from the way it originally was. Somebody had been working on it. They put some primer and this white paint. So they took the windshield out and the rear window. It's showing about 10,000 miles, which is not unusual for a fire truck. Usually fire trucks have very low mileage. It has an old flathead V8, although this is not the correct model of V8 for 1935. This is like a 50s flathead V8. You could see different areas where it was red fire truck at one time before they painted it. Has a Barton water pump on it. And now this is what really makes it special. It's got the Ford Marmon Herrington four-wheel drive conversion, or all-wheel drive. There was not a way to disengage the four-wheel drive, so it was basically an all-wheel drive. And that's the back end of that big front axle, big differential. And there's the transfer case. The drive shaft is missing. I mean, it's been removed, but it's not missing. It was in the cab of the truck when I picked the truck up. And this is the back side of the transfer case. One interesting thing is these Ford Marmon Herrington, when they did the conversions, they added hydraulic brakes to the front axles, but the rear axles remained mechanical. So you could see that this has the mechanical brake mechanism, and these lines, those rods going there, that's for the mechanical brake. There's no hydraulic lines to the rear axle, only the front axle. The drive line going to the rear is the old torque tube style. And this is the rear axle, and I read that what they did when they first started making these Ford Marmon Herrington conversions is they would take a rear axle and they would convert it to the front axle. They would put Marmon Herrington parts on it, but the differential and housing started off as a rear axle, is what I read. And it does look very similar to the front axle. Here's another view of the rear axle, and it looks very similar to the front axle. This is some of the old piping going to the water tank. This one has a water tank in it, and a fireman friend of mine who had looked at it said that he thought that the tank was added at a later date. This was originally a hose truck. It has really, really beefy springs on it. This truck started off in 1935 as a Model 51, 1935 Model 51 Ford cabin chassis, and then it was sent out to, at that time they might have done it at the factory, but it was converted to all-wheel drive, Marmon-Herrington all-wheel drive. And then of course it was sent to have a fire truck apparatus put on it, but there's a lot of mysteries about this. I think this has been changed over the years. Like there's a gap between the cab and the bed. Why is that? You know, did they have a spare tire there, or was there some kind of fire apparatus? It looks like it has like 3 different compartments. The center is a water tank, which I believe that was added at a later date. I don't think that was original to the part of the fire apparatus. And then it has these different bins on either side, possibly that were for hoses. So this is the early hub of the Ford Marmon Herrington design. Later on, it was a little bit bigger, and then it had a MH on it for Marmon Herrington. But this is the early style hub. It did have a some kind of a light or siren or something on top, because there's a mount that was on there at one time. And you can also see it from underneath. It has these Ford Marmon Herrington conversion stickers, but these are not correct, because this designation for this truck is a different truck. And then this, even this is wrong, because the shift pattern does not match what the shift pattern is actually of this truck. So I think that maybe the original ones were lost, or maybe they didn't even, since it was the first year, maybe they didn't even have these for the truck yet. They probably did, but anyway, they were lost or something at some date, and then I think these were just found in maybe on eBay or something and just stuck on here, but they're not original to this truck. It does have a siren, so it's a Federal Electric Company 6-volt. These trucks were 6-volt originally. And one interesting thing is it has a Ford badge on one side, and it has the Marmon-Herrington badge on the other side. Now these screws look like they're different screws, so these screws are replaced. But I believe this was originally part of the truck, because you can even see the red from the fire truck in the red when they painted it for it to be a fire truck. Plus it looks really aged, you know, pretty old. This is a copy of a 1935 Ford Marmon Herrington brochure. This truck was last in service in the Lassen County Fire District in the 1950s, and I was told that it was originally on an airfield in California.